We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
Swinging a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup for the lead. Yes!
Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
What up? What's going on?
Hey Don, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Joe? What's going on? It's episode 139, Joe. Listen, even though the Birds didn't play today, the Birds were in the headlines.
Oh yeah.
Even on a day where the captive audience of the Delaware Valley was dialed into the news as the scumbag gets discovered. He is immortalized
Oh Christ.
because he's wearing a fucking Eagle shirt, Joe.
Oh,
Only in this city.
only us.
Only us.
No
'Cause
one
listen,
likes-
it didn't take long for the scumbag Cowboys fans to
Oh.
saw something. Everything in this picture is garbage.
Yeah, come on, dude. I saw that.
Like-
too. I saw
like,
that too. Like,
you
come
saw
on,
it.
man.
Listen,
Come
listen, Joe. Kudos to everybody that contributed to that. Shout out to the dogs for the for pushing them over the finish line.
on. There you go.
Joe, the Birds, it didn't look pretty, but they came out with the victory in the game one, aka the glorified preseason game.
Yeah,
Talk
I
to me
mean,
about it.
yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this game. I mean, watching, seeing how it was in the first quarter, and then how we were feeling in the fourth quarter was like, hey, talk about flipping a switch. You definitely saw, the rust. You definitely saw,
Oh, yeah.
these guys were not in any kind of game shape throughout the game. No reps for the first team offense, no reps really for the first team defense.
Right.
But really on the offensive side of the ball, it was very evident that was the case. Hurts was missing. Whether he had locked in on one read and was just going with that read, or he just didn't see Goddard, or some of these other guys that were available as a dump down, or just go to your second read, go to your third read. He had the weather element and all that, and then of course he had Bill Belichick too. So but they say it doesn't matter how you do it if you come out with a W at the end of the game, and if we played that poorly and we're still able to put up 25 points on the board, it's not terrible. I mean, it's you won the game. My thing, tomorrow is going to be a really big measuring stick on what is this team's identity? Are they going to be a pass happy team? Are they going to be a run happy team? Are they going to be a balanced team? The offensive line was not good on Sunday.
No.
giving
I
up.
think you saw a lot of rust.
Yeah, between Mulata and Milata
Even
and
Lane.
Johnson, they gave up 10 pressures. I couldn't tell you the last time Lane Johnson even gave up a pressure. So
Yeah.
it was, the Bill threw some wrinkles at them. They really, tried to trip them up. But they as poorly and as bad as we felt about that game, and even when we won the game, really didn't even feel like a win. They pulled it out. So it's, the back's against the wall. They're on their last. I mean, if that guy gets the foot in bounds there toward the end, we could be talking about a totally different situation. So, but
listen, you
they
could
pulled
be
it out.
talking about catastrophic failure. Like it to me, like, right, the game couldn't start any better. Right?
Yeah.
It couldn't start any better in a sense where, you go down on the first drive, you move the ball really well. It's a shame you can't punch it in right on that first drive to kind of set the tone. Right. But then they come back the very next play.
Hey, Chris.
And you get the pick six. Listen, Chris, I want to give you a shout out. So Chris, super appreciative fact that you were wearing our shirt at a benefit that you attended. Really appreciate the support. I know you're always tuning in. Means a ton. And shout out to Chris, because Chris, I must have missed it. Chris, you had a first place trophy in one of your ballroom dancing competitions. So shout out to you, brother.
Wow, man. Good stuff.
But you go to Slay gets the pick six right there. Yeah, they put up 16 points. You get the Devontae Smith. You think like they're putting up 16 in the first quarter. They're going to set the tone, and they're going to get some separation. And then the offense just dies. I think they had 3 or 4 straight possessions where it was either where they don't get any first downs. They end up they punt. I think on 3 or 4 straight possessions.
Yeah. I think it was 5. I think they had 5 3-and-outs.
Oh, maybe it's 5. Like it was just a very, very lackluster performance in the second quarter. And Joe, you remember from last year, but last year, second quarter, that was their quarter. Second quarter was there where they really stepped on people's throats and really created that separation. But I had to go back to look at the first game of the season from last year, right? That game in Detroit started the same kind of way, right? Get up, they're trading points early. But that game was, 38-35?
35, yeah.
That game was a sweat, right? And then they're going to come back week 2 and play the Vikings. I look at this as like this was a preseason game, but it counted, right? You got a lot of the kinks out. Shame is that you're going to have, Bradbury's going to be out, Blankenship's out, and Gainwell's out.
Yeah.
I think that they can recover from Gainwell because of the depth that they have, right? They did Rashad Penny, which still is a head scratcher to me that he was a healthy scratch.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm sure that between he and Boston Scott and Swift, they're going to get those touches.
Right.
You're going to have to see what you got in Josh Jobe, right? Josh Jobe came in for Bradbury, made a hell of a play to push the guy out of bounds on that 4th down play so that he can't get the feet in bounds. I'm excited about Sidney Brown, though. The play that he made on special teams really got me excited for what he could potentially be for this offense or for this defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you might see him have to step in for some snaps tomorrow, which necessarily a bad thing. Like you said, offensively with the running game, those guys should be able to work out the kinks and iron that all out. The big question mark is the secondary. You've got Justin Jefferson, and they better put Slay on Jefferson. They better he better follow him. There better not be any zone coverage or Slay's going to play. This is Slay's side. That's not going to work tomorrow. He has to be with
No, you
Jefferson the entire game tomorrow. But to make a point on that too, the pass rush has really got to step up tomorrow. To make up for our guys that aren't going to be there in the secondary. Reddick's going to have a better game. I mean, the weather's going to be better, so they're going to be at home. They're going to be jacked up. So I think it's going to be the defensive line will. I mean, they got to have more pressure than they did last week. They didn't do anything until toward the end of the game. So, Kirk Cousins at night. I'm sure he's going to be having flashbacks of last year. Hopefully,
yeah. Listen, Joe, you talk about so let's talk about that real quick. So the defensive line pressure, right? You can obviously see that, where Bill O'Brien is not a great head coach, he is an incredible game plan offensive coordinator. And he really put together a good game plan to counterbalance the rush that this, defense was going to bring. You saw Mac Jones was not holding the ball for more than 2-3 seconds. And just all those short intermediate passes, trying to get the ball out of his hands, get the ball in the hands of the guys on the outside. I think the impressive guy for me, obviously, is a guy that we've talked about a lot, during the preseason. Jalen Carter was really impressive. The pressures that he got, getting double teamed. God, when there was a couple of things that I saw where he's one-on-one and he's just manhandling guys to be able to get to the quarterback, even in that short burst, right? Even when those dropbacks were only, 2.5, 3 seconds, he was still getting
there. Yeah.
He was still getting there to be able to move Mac Jones off of his spot and maybe make that throw just a little bit more difficult. The more snaps he had, I mean, he only played 40% of the snaps.
Yeah.
The more snaps he has,
the
better he's going to be. And Joe, I think you could be looking at a guy that I think in 3 to 5 years you might look back and say he might be the. Yeah, he's good. I really he's going to be in that conversation when we talked about Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Nick Bosa, like those guys that are just impact players from the defensive line. I think in 3 to 5 years, he could be the best player out of this draft. So that to me, compounded with, I think and we can just roll, we'll go back and forth between this game and the Vikings game, but the Vikings offensive line looks like it's beat up. They're going to be missing some guys. I think it's going to be really important to get pressure on him early, get Cousins off his spot, get him uncomfortable. But the point that you made about, Justin Jefferson, that has to be, Darius Slay wearing the C. That's got to be one where you go in and you say, Coach, me and 18 are going to be together all night long, because I don't think you can afford to have anybody else on him.
No.
If you do,
you're probably going to lose.
Anybody else on that depth chart, no one is going to get close to Justin Jefferson. Darius Slay can. So I think you have it, like you made a good point. So shadow him all night long. Wherever he goes, you go. What side he goes. And I think if you don't, you're really going to put yourself in a position, because the other weapon that could be dangerous, right, is Hawkinson.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You saw what New England was doing with the tight end.
Yep.
Don't think for a second that the Vikings aren't going and seeing that tape and they're seeing, Hunter Henry, who is pales in comparison to what TJ Hawkinson can be as a weapon.
Yep. That's going to be tough, because now you're down you're down to Kobe. So Christian Ellis is going to he's going to play a huge role tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tall task. It really is a tall task. It's going to be.
It is.
It's going to be really, really tough for them to plug and play these guys. Because Hawkinson is one of the better tight ends in the league. So Ellis is going to have the game of his life. Hopefully they're going to put him in the right spot. Hopefully, these guys they'll have him positioned and lined up to
Yeah.
succeed. It's going to be tough. I mean, this might be the kind of game where we're just going to have to outscore them.
Yeah, this could be, I feel like it could go one of two ways, Joe. It could go like the NFC Championship game went, where it's just blowout city, or it could just be, both defenses are kind of, I mean, this Minnesota team lost to a terrible Tampa team at home. So if that terrible Tampa team with Baker Mayfield and an aging Mike Evans, I got to feel like Jalen Hurts, this is one of those, turn the page. It's a quick turnaround. You don't have much time to think about the mistakes that you made. And you have another opportunity to go out and, get another win, start the year 2-0, and really get yourself in a position to start stacking wins, right? That Jets game early looks a lot better now, right? Now that, Aaron Rodgers is out for the season. So the difference between facing Aaron Rodgers and facing Zach Wilson is might as well be the Grand Canyon. So, and we've talked about this, stacking those wins early, because you're going to need them late in the year, because after that bye is going to be, you're going to go through a murderer's row of teams that are going to be battling for that, the top of the NFC, AFC. Talk to me about the second half, right? Because the second half of the game against the Patriots, they had, the defense only gives up 6 points, right? They don't give up the touchdown until there's 3:37 left on the clock. So as much as I want to say, like, yeah, they gave up 382 yards, but I mean, they ran 59 plays. They were throwing from behind. They were throwing, they're behind, so they're throwing to try to get back in the game. As much as they gave up, I feel like they also, they held them when they needed to.
Yeah, bend but don't break.
Yeah.
They gave up. They had their ups and their downs definitely during the game, but to give up 20 points on the road is I mean, you did your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously you want some more consistency. You want the pass rush to be, more consistent, more even throughout, each quarter. But they were able to make plays, when it counted, when the game was on the line, to seal up the win there. But like I said, I think it was like a preseason game for the offense and the defense, especially the offense. I think Hurts is going to he's going to take that game personal and realize that, and he knows, he'll be the first one to tell you that he went up and shook all the defensive players' hands and said, you guys were the ones that allowed us really to win this game. So, he's going to be better tomorrow. But they've got to, this is a huge game for Sean Desai. This is a huge game for and even Brian Johnson, with Gainwell out, you gotta have a stellar game plan. You've got to get everybody involved. You've brought in Penny, you brought in Swift. Like, get these guys the ball.
Well, and I wanted that was something I wanted to get you. I want to kind of start this conversation, right? So Adam brings up a couple of guys that I wanted to talk about. So Adam, great point. Swift has to get the ball. The fact that he had 1 target and 2 rushes,
2 carries. Yeah.
What is that? He's a guy that can be a difference maker in the play in the passing game. Like, he has to get the ball. And I think, the other guy we're talking about is Goddard, right? Goddard has to get the ball. In order for those guys on the outside to continue to stay as open as they can be, Goddard and Swift have to get the ball. They have to be an integral part of the offense. And I don't know. To me, it boggles my mind that you have these guys there. Swift was available. I don't necessarily understand the desire to go really heavy on Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's your number one or your feature back, but I mean, he had a nice game, but I mean, he didn't necessarily light the world on fire. But you have, I mean, DeAndre Swift is a game breaker. Screen pass, you could give him a bubble screen, you could just send him on a wheel route. I mean, or even a handoff. I mean, look what he did. I mean, he had the one carry in the Cleveland preseason game. I mean,
yeah,
took the guy out of his shoes, and I think he ran for like 20 or 25 yards. So, I mean, you know what he can do. You've seen his tape. You've seen his history. I mean, he's healthy. I mean, as far as I know, we all know that he's healthy. I mean, you brought him in here. I mean,
you got to get him the ball.
Put him on the field. Get Dallas the ball. Don't tell me that their coverages and this and that. Find a way. You have
get
to
him the ball.
You've got it, and you got to be able to in-game adjust. You might have a game plan. Well, guess what? Sometimes that shit doesn't work. You've got to be able to reinvent yourself as the game goes along.
Sometimes you have to course correct, right? You have to
be huge for this offense this year with your new personnel, your new coaching staff, and Nick. This all comes back to Nick. It's all these teams in the league saw what we did last year, so you've got to have some different wrinkles, and you have to have an answer for how these teams are going to scheme for you.
You're not surprising anybody. Everything that you put on tape last year, you have to have a next level, right? You have to level up. And I think, Adam, the point that you're making right here, right? The play calling tomorrow has to be more aggressive. You have to look for opportunities to get these guys the ball in space. And I think some of that, Joe, is on Hurts. There were 2 plays that they highlighted during the game. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but they were 2 back-to-back plays. They were in the same series.
Yeah.
But the play that he throws deep in the end zone to AJ Brown.
Yeah.
And Dallas Goedert's coming across the pattern across, he's crossing the hash. And Joe, there was no one within 25 yards of him. And even though he wasn't in the end zone, he catches that ball. He is either going to score
but
he's getting pretty damn close.
Chunks. It's a chunk. Move the chains. You got a first down and you're rolling. It's they were talking about that during the game, and it almost seemed like he had a predetermined, like, I'm going to Brown, and that's what we're doing.
It was like we're gonna in the huddle. They're like, we're scoring a touchdown. This ball is going to Brown.
Yeah,
and then you run into that horse blinder thing where you're only looking down there, and the craziest thing, Joe, is that you're looking past him. And I don't know if he's in your field of vision when you're attempting to make that throw, but he's crossing your face as you're making that throw. I got to imagine that that's something that they harped on during film over the course of the last couple of days. Is we got to look for, we got to go through the progressions, right? If it's not in the flat, look in the seam. If it's not in the seam, you can look deep. Like, go through those natural progressions because those guys are there and they were open. And Goddard has to be part of this offense. I'm just looking at what's up, Erica? What's going on?
Hey, Eric.
It's a friends and family comment.
She's like, I hope the Eagles score a bunch of home runs tomorrow.
Oh God.
It's all
all good. It's all good.
Uh,
But yeah, it's a good thing to have this team have this opportunity, I think, to go back. And then don't overlook the fact that then they'll have, I think, 10 days before
rest up, get these
before
guys
they
back.
play, because they don't play until the following Monday night
Yeah,
in Tampa.
get Gainwell back on track and blank.
Yeah. So, but I like, so talk to me about what you're thinking going into Minnesota. Like what's your offensive game plan as you're looking at this Minnesota team?
You've got to have a balanced attack. You have to be you have to go in and you have to assert yourself. You're at home. You're going to have the home crowd. You can't be timid. It's really and it's got to be the play calling's got to be right, and Jalen's got to be he's just got to have better field vision than he did on Sunday. If he's seeing their defensive scheme and it's lined up and he's checking down to the right play. And they have the right personnel on the field. It's DeAndre Swift. I mean, he's got to be your starting back tomorrow. They'll probably. I guess they're going to activate Penny as well.
That's my guess. My guess is that they'll split the carries between Penny, Swift, and Boston Scott.
Right. But they have to get into a rhythm. There was no rhythm on Sunday. It was kind of like a mishmash offense that was kind of pieced together. They've got to get the feel for each other. The first, I should say, before Hurts, it needs to be the offensive line. Their communication. They've had a full game to communicate with each other. You have Cam, who's new, who actually had a really good game.
Yeah, you're right.
Mulata and Johnson need to be better than they were on Sunday. So if they can, they got that, get the rust off. The first time playing together, you got that out of the way. So they need to be, they needed to be the aggressor tomorrow and take it to Minnesota. I don't want to see a timid offense. I don't want to see a quarterback, and I don't want to see timid play calling. It's got to be, run and throw, mix it up, RPO, whatever it may be, to keep Minnesota on their heels. The defense is decent, but it's not New England. So you've got to get your playmakers the ball. Dallas Goedert, DeAndre, these guys have to be. They've got to touch the ball, and they've got to get the ball to these guys early and often, and keep feeding them.
I'm looking for a lot. My game plan tomorrow, I'm looking for some creativity. Like, I want to see some creative formations. I want to see, bunch formations. I want to see a lot of what I didn't see, which to me, that game on Sunday seemed very vanilla. It seemed very, we're going to go out. There wasn't a lot of creativity in the play calling. The formations were kind of static. There wasn't a lot of motion. I'm looking at, Brian Johnson, and I want to say, I want to see you really utilize all of the weapons on this offense.
Yeah.
Get Swift and Penny on the field at the same time. Get, Swift and Boston Scott on the field at the same time. Get, I think I want to see if Albert O gets activated.
I was going to
get him and Goddard on the same, on the field at the same time.
Yep.
But I think the more that you can go and activate those skill players, the better off you're going to be. So, yeah,
I mean, you traded for the tight end from Denver. I mean, he's athletic. He's strong. He's got speed. He, look at our team, a couple years ago with Ertz and Burton. So, I mean, the guy can play. The guy can catch. He's athletic.
Absolutely.
He's got size. So, you made that move for a reason, and there's no reason why you can't have two tight ends on. You should have two tight ends on the field because it that the threat of them going out and catching a pass, and you could have them in there to block when you're doing running plays. So, hey, You got to bring it. That playbook better be stacked and ready to go, and they better be firing on all cylinders tomorrow.
Joe, give me your key. What's the final score, and give me a key play.
Final score. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be kind of close. I
wouldn't be surprised.
I had 27-21.
Okay.
27-21. They're getting there. They're ironing things out. They'll be better than Sunday. I'm thinking Swift. I think Swift breaks screen pass. 40-yard screen pass. DeAndre Swift. And Hassan Reddick comes up with a big sack tomorrow. He's
okay.
He's got that one game out of the way. Hopefully his hand's doing better. And Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter's going to be there every game. Jalen Carter's going to.
Yeah, Joe. I think we must have communicated telepathically, literally, because I'm sitting here going, I'm anticipating something long from DeAndre Swift. Like I'm envisioning something akin to the play that he scored in week 1 against the Eagles last year. He gets the short dump off and just takes it. So like I'm with you on that, but I'm gonna just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna go a little bit closer. I think it might be like a 31-28, but it's like a Vikings score late.
Okay.
I think I think it's a situation where like going into the fourth quarter, they're up 10, 31-21. But I think they end up holding them. But I think I'm envisioning some combination of some defensive touchdown. Not sure if it might be a pick six, not sure if it might be like a strip sack. But I feel like that's a very on-brand primetime Kirk Cousins performance.
Yeah, Kirk.
So
welcome back.
You know what? I'm going to stop being wishy-washy, Joe. I'm looking for a strip sack, scoop and score from either Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis.
Wow. Jordan Davis. I hope he doesn't have to run too far.
In the second half, that maybe separates them. It takes a 3-point game to a 10-point game. But I'm looking at this as they're still working out the kinks, but I feel like I think we can get a win and still start to feel good. And then, it breathes a little life into the weekend. We get to sit back, watch a little red zone, and kind of go into that, that game in Tampa, starting to feel pretty good about ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to come ready to play tomorrow. The communication on the offensive line, Sean Desai, getting these guys ready that haven't started before. It's going to be a touch and go. It's going to be, we're going to be a nervous wreck. I don't know if we're going to be a nervous wreck the whole game, but there's going to be, that feeling in your stomach of like, man, here we go again.
There's going to be a lot of pacing, a lot of back and forth.
A lot of pacing when it comes to the Bird games. It's just automatic, man. It really is.
No, I hear you.
But
Joe, let's take a commercial break and then we'll go around the NFL when we come back.
You got it, brother.
Von C. Brewing Company is a 20-barrel, 16,000-square-foot microbrewery with a 2,500-square-foot tasting room, including a spacious outside beer garden in Norristown, PA, in the heart of Montgomery County. The Von C. family is part of the family that started C. Schmidt and Son Brewing in 1860. Stop in Wednesday through Sunday and taste a variety of draft and 16-ounce cans of originally brewed beer and tell them the Drunk on Broad crew sent you. Von C. Brewing is located at 1210 Stenbridge Street, Suite 300 in Norristown. Cheers.
Team Clicks are the only glasses for real sports fans. With interchangeable arms, you can support all of your favorite teams, or even make and create custom options as well. These die-hard sports fans have realized that sports fans needed something other than face paint to show their love and passion for their teams. Go to teamclicks.com/DOB and show your love for your hometown team.
La Torrent's curated collection of men's and women's watches is a perfect investment that lasts for years to come and fits perfectly with your every outfit and style. Our range of classic watches aren't just a great perfect formal and casual accessory, but a time machine that takes you back to memories. Explore our collection of timeless watches that can reflect your taste, personality, and personal style. Our exclusive collection of carefully curated, affordable luxury watches is what you need to make a personalized style statement. You can take pride in your prized possession, handing it over to the next generations as your most loved asset that they can also own and display with the same pride. These high-quality pieces stand the test of time, giving exceptional value and return on your investment. Go to la-touraine.com and use code DOB at checkout and get 10% off.
If you're looking for unique sports apparel, check out Streaker Sports. They've dug deep into the archives and have brought back some incredible defunct team logos and have even created entire defunct league collections. They also have collections paying homage to sports culture, including the Miracle on Ice, Slap Shot, Caddyshack, the Mighty Ducks, and even have a license with Wiffle Ball and USA Hockey. Only for Drunk on Broad listeners, use code BROAD at checkout to get 10% off anything at streakersports.com. Again, that's 10% off anything at streakersports.com with discount code BROAD.
Yeah, we're back. Joe, around the NFL, man, some crazy shit went on Sunday. Some really crappy football, but biggest surprise to you all weekend was what?
Oh man, there were multiple games, multiple scores, multiple situations that were pretty unbelievable. Man, I don't know. There was a lot of them, Don. How about the Giants and the Cowboys?
Joe.
You know, I mean, we knew that the Giants were frauds, but to put on that display and not even score a point in your home opener, whew.
Joe, you had months to game plan for that game, and you still scored 0 points. Now listen, Cowboys defense, very impressive.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons is a fucking animal. As much as it pains me to say that, but you know, the Giants look a lot worse considering the money that they've invested in Daniel Jones.
Oof.
I mean, that deal is a deal that I feel like they could be regretting for the entirety of that contract.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm here for it all.
Philly's good with it.
We can stay in the division, right? Because the Commanders, they beat the Cardinals 20-16.
Oof. And they struggled.
And Joe, you're being polite.
Yeah.
They struggled a lot. And Sam Howell looks...
Yeah. Against a third-string quarterback.
Correct. So the Commanders and Giants don't bother me at all. But talk to me about the Bengals. Because, good God.
Yeah, I don't know what in the hell. I don't know, man. Like, it's like they forgot how to play. They forgot how to game plan. They were awful on Sunday. And I have Burrow in at least one of my leagues. I've got Jamar Chase in at least one of my leagues, and I think a lot of people do. Cleveland had the perfect game plan, but to totally shut that offense down like that was I think I don't know. I mean, Cincinnati's got a lot of soul searching and looking in the mirror to do after a game like that, because with I mean, you've got Joe Mixon, you've got the three-headed monster at receiver, you got Joe Burrow. I think that it was the weather definitely was an issue in that game, just like our game in New England. But it looks like they're having issues with their offensive line, because it looked like Burrow was kind of running for his life too. Which I still don't know why they don't have that figured out. I mean, you've got one of the highest paid and top quarterbacks in the entire league. You'd think you'd want to put out money and have that solidified at this point. But that was mind-boggling that they could only muster up a field goal in that game.
And talk about some fantasy crushers, right? Like T. Higgins. So here's, again, the conversation. Nobody cares about your fantasy team, right? But I thought starting T. Higgins was a shoo-in, right? To guarantee some points.
Yeah.
Well, T. Higgins walks away with 0. And Joe, ask me who I got on the bench. Brandon Ayuk is on the bench.
Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk is on the bench.
Oh.
And it would have it 100% would have flipped the game. I lost by like I don't know, 10, 15 points. But Brandon Ayuk had like 35 points. So
there's no way
you
never know.
I don't think anyone saw that one coming.
No.
Right. We can talk about Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah. I mean,
4 plays.
That's crushing. I mean, yeah, it's a New York team, and we don't root for New York teams, but I mean, the Jets have a big fan base, and that's all they need. That's the only missing piece that they didn't have for years, and it's just totally, just like it's like soul crushing. The guy. I don't even think he got a stat. I mean, I think he had an incompletion. I saw somebody post their fantasy neck. It was neck and neck, and that was the only guy they had left was Aaron Rodgers, and he got no points.
They lost by 600ths of a point.
Yes.
They literally needed Aaron Rodgers to throw and complete one pass.
One pass. Yep.
One pass, and it would have pushed him over, and he doesn't even get a stat. That's
just and I mean,
I can't imagine being in that position though, right?
No, and he might be
that was the missing piece. Everything around the Jets,
everything. Their defense,
everything else is good.
Their running game, their offensive line, their defense. I mean, their receiving core. They had it all right there on a platter, and they got the quarterback, and then this happened. And now it's like, okay, well, is he going to be back? Is he going to be healthy for next year? Is he going to even want to play next? Is he just going to say, you know what? It's just not worth it for me anymore. I mean, he got his money.
He's gonna go spend some time in one of those dark rooms.
yeah.
I mean, he's gonna need it because it was just bonkers. Tua comes back right after all the adversity that he faces last year with the head injuries and how they handled that, and Tua just comes back and just crush like that game. It's a shame that game wasn't like a standalone game that everybody got to watch.
I know.
Because, I got the Eagles on the TV, right? But I'm checking the red zone, watching, and literally it's like a pinball game, right? Just going back and forth. But, Tua ends the game with 466 and 3 touchdowns. And the combination of he and Tyreek Hill, right? God bless anybody that stacked those 2 guys in their fantasy team together. But, I think that division, I think is going to be, that's going to be a battle between, the Dolphins and Bills.
Yeah. And you want to talk about surprises. Well, I guess it's not necessarily a surprise, but I think it's become more of a commonplace with the lackluster and the regression of Josh Allen.
I've seen this come across the timeline a bunch, Joe. I don't know what your thoughts on it, but I don't really feel like I'm in a place where I feel like he's trending towards Carson Wentz. but I feel like there is some regression, right? He's not the player that he used to be, but I don't think he's trending to where, he's going to fall off the face of the earth in 2 years.
True. Yeah, he's kind of in a world of his own right now. Definitely he started to lose that when Brian Dabble left Buffalo and signed on with the Giants as the coach, but he just he's like he's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He can throw for 450 and run for 80 yards and throw for 3 touchdowns and rush for 2 and lead you back and win a game in overtime. But then he's also the guy that's gonna throw 3 picks or 4 picks, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? Why did you even throw that ball?
Yeah.
He tries to be a world beater, and I think he's just so up and down. Where he's so unpredictable right now. That's why it's like you can't decide on if he's gonna go, toward like a Patrick Mahomes, or if he's going to go fall all the way down to a Carson Wentz level. It's just he's just kind of floating right now. But it's not really good. He's just it's like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, Adam, that the Colin Kaepernick conversation, that boat has sailed. There's a reason why
never play in the league now.
There's a reason why he hasn't played in the league in years. And there are guys that I've heard, right? The Matt Ryans, the Cam Newtons, I think it would be smart for the Jets to bring somebody in. But who that is, you're without Aaron Rodgers, you're in the same exact spot you were in last year. You're going to be playing and competing with the Patriots for who's going to be third and who's going to be fourth in that division. Talk about a young guy that had a really impressive day. Jordan Love, right, goes into Chicago and, the season debut and just plays and kind of leads that young Packers team, right? He's, ends the day with 245 and 3 touchdowns. Got the ball in the hands of Aaron Jones and, kind of let him, make plays. Played point guard, which for a young quarterback, kind of smart move.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody – I think people thought that he was going to be good, but to play all around well as he did on Sunday was pretty awesome. But in the same breath too is look at how poorly the Bears played and look at how poorly Justin Fields played.
Yeah.
I think everybody thought that was going to be like a marquee game. Like that was going to be maybe like the Charger Dolphin game where it was kind of back and forth. Somebody's going to win it in the end, or it's going to be more of a tighter battle, but it certainly was not. And I think I was surprised by it. I was, surprised checking field stats during the game, checking the score during the game. They really just took it to the Bears. Yeah.
And Joe, anything else stand out for you? Did you have any fantasy dumps that somebody took on you?
Other than the Chase and Burrow, that was and one of my problems was too. I didn't study up enough on Cooper Kupp, so he's I don't know, and I think I don't know if it was our league or another league where I took him as my first pick. So I may have already screwed myself.
Listen, Joe, you heard Rich and Trav, they were giving me a ton of shit about the picks, right? I stashed, Michael Thomas and I stashed, Jonathan Taylor I took them early and I know that they weren't going to play for like the first 3-4 weeks, but I feel like it was worth the investment knowing that they were going to play at some point during the year. But like the Travis Kelce injury, right? That came down, only hours before.
Yeah.
And thank God it didn't kill me, but I took a 0 on it because I didn't want to drop anybody on my team just yet.
Right. It's too early to make any rash decisions. And it's going to be interesting to see. And I don't know what they're saying about what Kelsey's status is for the next game or how long he's going to be out. But, that totally changes the Chiefs' dynamic. I mean, they run that offense through him.
Yeah. You saw them look pedestrian.
They absolutely did. And their defense will be better because Jones did sign a 1-year deal. But that you can't replace Travis Kelce because every game that's played during the season, every defense is scheming. That's what you're scheming for. You're scheming for Travis Kelce. That's the defensive game plan. And with him not out there, it's like falling off a cliff with the next guy up in line on that team.
So he was a limited participant in practice.
Okay.
For whatever that is. He's still listed as questionable. I think they wanted to try to give him that extra, kind of like an extra 2 weeks to be able to get that in order, but who knows? Adam with a Calvin Ridley was another guy that showed out, right?
Yeah.
It looked really impressive for Jacksonville having, he essentially had the entire year off last year for gambling. Came back, the Jaguars, they pull that game out with the Colts, but they look, they look like they have some offensive weapons with him and ATN. So I'm curious to see. It's the first, I think the way that the schedule works out for the Eagles, they only have three 1 o'clock games all season long. So we're going to get a daily dose, Joe, of red zone because, you're going to get the red zone on one TV. You're going to get the whatever the local game is on the other TV. And I think we'll get a broader look at the NFL this season.
I'm all for it, man. I mean, I don't care who's playing and what day they're playing and what time they're playing. I'm on it and I'm watching. So, you want to see what teams are good, what teams are bad. Who is supposed to be good going into the season and who's not. Who's not. So, I mean, the birds are always going to be right there. But they're going to have to raise the bar. I mean, San Francisco looked dominant. Dallas looked dominant. And we did not. So, there's room for growth. There's room for improvement. But they got to get it figured out, and they just got to get it figured out at the right time. And they have to stay healthy at key positions.
Listen, Joe, let's roll right into final thoughts. Final thoughts for me, right? I'm just going to, kind of pick up where I started, right? The shout out to the law enforcement that, kind of tracked through this whole debacle for the last 2 weeks, for really kind of putting it on a silver platter to be able to kind of wrap this thing up. Everybody that went into, making sure that worked, and kind of ending that whole situation. Just huge shout out to law enforcement. We've got I've got some law enforcement background in my, some of my uncles are I've got some cousins that are in the Philadelphia police force. So, the support of law enforcement is always encouraged, but, in times like this where, you need them to all kind of collaborate and work together. Just glad that whole thing just got wrapped up.
Absolutely. I mean, it's incredible, the amount of manpower and, the K9 units and SWAT and people coming from out of state and all the people that they had involved in this manhunt. It's pretty incredible that this guy was able to last and survive out for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It was wild. I mean, he grew up in Brazil, so I think he's used to, kind of living off the land, like in areas where he grew up in. But still, it was, it was stressful. I think it was stressful for a lot of people. It was stressful for a lot of people that, lived in that area where they, where he was reported to be. And, it's like,
closing schools. Yeah.
far as closing schools. He stole a rifle out of somebody's garage, and it's like, what is this guy gonna do? And when are they gonna? It's like, when is this gonna be over already? You're thinking about your kids, you're thinking about going to work, you're thinking about where you're traveling. Am I in that area? Do I know friends and family that are gonna be in that area? So
right.
It was a lot. It was kind of helter skelter for the last 2 weeks, but they got him, and clearly he's going to be in a different prison, and probably going to be in solitary confinement. He's got it. They're going to go about it the right way this time. So
yeah. So listen, on the way out, gentlemen, you know where to find us. We got all of our stuff. We got, you can find our stuff on YouTube, Facebook, Linktree, all that stuff. Go find that. Go check those out. I'm gonna be on Saturday morning with Eric talking a little Phillies. Try to recap that. Put a little bow on this Brave series. But just go check us out. But we appreciate your support, and I guess we can take it home for Rich, right? You fucked around, you stuck around, you fucked around, you found out.
You fucked around, you found out. This is Teflon Don over here. I'm Big Beautiful Booch, a.k.a. Joe Bucci, a.k.a. Big Beautiful Booch. We're going to go with fuck you, Jonathan Gannon. We're going to go with fuck you, Deshaun Watson. As usual, we have to make that part of the show. Who else should we throw?
We can give Ben Simmons the bird.
We can give some Ben Simmons, some fuck yous from Ben Simmons, some Davion Taylor, even though, Rich, I think you might be kind of warming up to the guy. I don't know. That we might have to work on that jersey for you. And definitely a big, giant, mega, infinity fuck you to Danilo Cavalcante.
And the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, and the Cowboys. But that just goes without saying.
All right. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
This is the Broad Street Line, where Philly sports fans leave all of their sports hot takes. Call 267-405-3062 and show us your passion for Philly sports. Don't forget to tune in every Wednesday at 8:30 when we listen to your live reactions to the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat.